Hey friends! It's been a hot minute since we've colored together. So I figured I'd pop on and color. I mean, why not, right? Let's do this. All right. I just posted this over in the other group. And so let's see who's hanging out today. Who's coloring today? Who's doing what? All right. So we have this new little turtle guy here, and he is from our new stay home stamp set. So I figured we'd color him up, but we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to rainbow this turtle because everybody loves coloring in rainbows. So I figured, why not? Let's rainbow the turtle. So I'm going to start with his body. I'm going to color his body like a traditional kind of turtle tortoise green color, and we're going to rainbow his shell, okay? So I Somebody stole my 95. Where did it go? There it is. Took me a minute to figure that out. Hello! Lee, feel free to tag friends or anybody you think who would love to see a rainbow turtle. This is my Sandy Allnock hex chart. I just shrunk it down into a smaller card here, and I added the grays to the side of it so that it all fits on like a 5x7. And I take this to travel with me, and I also take this, I used to take one of these to like the stores and stuff. So when I bought Copic markers, I didn't buy duplicates. So there you go. So I have my favorite like olive green blend, and that's YG99, YG97, YG95, 93, and 91. Okay, love those. So I'm going to start with my YG99. And so I'm going to look at this and I'm going to create shadows where I think there would be shadows. I know a lot of people struggle with light source and shadowing, but I'm going to have the light pretty much at noon. Like I want the light to be right on top of him, okay? So I know his little teeny tiny tail here is going to have some shadow. I also know that since the light's going to be like at noon, that his shell is going to leave a shadow pretty much all over his the skin part of him. So I'm going to go ahead and just cast that shadow down, okay? The underside of his shell is usually like a yellowish color, so I'm going to leave that for now, but I'm going to go back here onto his skin again, and I'm just leaving this cast shadow. This is wherever his shell would cast a shadow onto his body, okay? I know under his chin would have a shadow. Again, if the sun is at noon, anything that is blocking the sun will have a shadow. Aw, thanks, Lee. That's so sweet of you. You'll have a rainbow yeti soon. I'm also gonna do under his mouth here, okay? So now that I have these cast shadows in, also his little foot back here. Okay, So now that I have these cast shadows in, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put form shadows. Form shadows are a little bit different. They are like what makes his form, so muscles and all of that kind of stuff. So you see his little knee and how there's these artist drawn lines. So these lines are a form shadow. So I'm going to put a little bit of shadow underneath all of them. Again, because the sun's coming from this way, so we want to keep our light source all from the same direction. And hopefully this little explanation will help you some. Now also, this is the back of his foot. So in that form shadow category, you're going to have a little shadow down here. Okay? And this gets easier once you get used to coloring. Also, in between his little toes, there's going to be a little bit of a form shadow. It'll be framed. Oh my gosh, you silly girl. Okay. And so I'm putting form shadows in between all of his little toes. And Lee, hopefully this will help you out with your shadowing questions too. Now, I know there's little like bubbles here on his skin. I'm just going to leave those because they're already artist drawn. And so they're going to show through this green no matter what. So I'm just going to leave those just as is. Okay, so since we're working on his feet, we're going to go ahead and come over here and do this foot. Same thing. Now you'll see there's like a little crease in his foot right here. So I'm going to just kind of elongate that and make it a little bit more pronounced. Now again, if our light source is coming from directly above, this is going to have a bit of a shadow down here because it's the furthest away from the sun and his body is blocking it. Same thing, we're going to work on some form shadows here. So anywhere there's an artist drawn line, we're just going to add a little bit of a shadow underneath it. Okay, now the last part we're going to work on form shadows is this big part of his body here. And this is a little bit confusing because, so this is like a wrinkle in his skin, and then this bottom part is his shell. Or at least that's how I'm interpreting it. So with my form shadow, I'm going to come up around his leg because I know that that would be a shadow because it's further in, it's underneath his shell. And then again, I'm going to come out underneath his little neck and his chin because his head would create that shadow. Form shadow again on the bottom of his chin, a little bit on the tip of his little pointed nose here. And then I'm going to do something, I'm going to add a little bit of a form shadow here around his head, just because I want to break up that big, long, solid, straight line. And so this will give his head a little bit more dimension. Okay? Shadow techniques, I mean, honestly, they're one of the hardest things to deal with. And it's just something you'll get with time. The more you do it and the more you look at these, the better you're going to get at those shadow techniques because you're going to start looking at things differently. And oftentimes I will go to, well, hello, Tyler. I will go to like Google and Google pictures of like tortoises and then look at where the sun is coming from. See if you can figure out the direction in which the sun is shining. And you can find actual photographs of tortoises and kind of start modeling after that of what it is that you're looking for with your shadows. So now that we've laid in these shadows for the most part, I'm going to come in with my next color and I'm just going to start elongating these shadows. I'm going to start blending them out. I know blending's kind of a misnomer, but it's essentially what we're doing. Now, part of the form shadow scenario that I'm talking about with all of these shadow techniques is his leg is round. It's not flat. So in order to make it look round, you have to shadow on both sides of his leg to make it look round. Notice I didn't do that with the darkest color. I'm kind of saving these lighter colors to do that. Number one, because he does have some sun that's going to hit his leg. Well, hi, Cheryl. And number two, because you still want to create that highlight but you have to, in order to get that highlight, you have to start with some of the darker colors. So just FYI, there's a little bit of a balance there that you're working with. Archie's going to growl because the mail guy is going to come to my front door and pick up all of your packages. Oh, there's a lot of release packages that the mail guy is picking up today. So everybody with the new release. My mail guy's here getting a bunch of your packages. A lot of the new release actually went out on Saturday. I was able to get a bunch of it out. Okay, now his little skin fold here, I'm going to start to shadow just a little bit. I still want to leave a highlight so that it reads like a fold of his skin. And now, as you come in with these shadows, you can start adding a little bit of character to his face. Yours is out for delivery. OMG, that's fast. That made it to Florida fast. That's impressive. So adding a little bit of character to the face by using form shadows and cast shadows is definitely something that you'll start picking up and you'll start playing with. But I'm going to tell you guys, it's paper and ink. So don't be afraid to play and try things. Just because I do it one way does not necessarily mean that you have to do it that way. Now, since this leg is turned out, I'm going to leave this part as highlight because the sun coming from this direction would put a highlight on his leg. And then where I started to add this little shadow on his neck, I'm going to do that as well. Okay. Nothing too major here. Nothing crazy, right? That. I know, seeing it all in person is so much different than seeing it online. The design team does an incredible and amazing job of playing and really making these characters come to life. But there's just nothing like holding it in your hand and seeing that release. Just, yeah, I getcha. Okay, so this is the center color in my blend. Archie, no. This is the center color in my blend, so it's the color that I'm going to use most prevalently because I want his skin to actually read as this color. Archie, honey. Evan? Can you take Archie into your room for a moment? Okay, so then we're going to continue coloring these down. It pays sometimes to have a teenager. I can hear the dog still like totally growling inside Evan's room. If you guys listen really closely, you can hear the beeping of the mailman's little device. So you know that all of your packages are on their way. It's the sound of happiness right there. Y'all are awfully quiet today. What's going on out there in Crafty Land? Again, I'm just working on these shadows, pulling them out. Leaving that center part of the leg in the light so that he has a little bit of highlight on his leg. Now I have YG93. So now we're working into the highlights. This color is considerably more green. And reason being is because I want to pull this back into the green realm and not quite so much brown. So I'm going to kind of go over some of the stuff that I already colored to add this green tint to it. Leaving lots of room for that highlight color. Look at this cute little guy. What was your favorite stamp set from the release? Let me know. Hi, Nadia. I haven't seen you online for a while. Have you been hiding? Or just hiding from me? No, I'm just kidding. Ciao. Again, I'm just working this dark green color into those other colors, those more brown colors, so that he comes out looking a little bit more green. All the way down to his little tail. I don't think the mailman's very happy that he had to like turn around and come back. He had to like turn around and come back to my house because my mailbox is like past the front of my house. So yeah, I don't think he was super stoked. But I did leave him candy in the mailbox to soften the blow of the fact that I was filling his mail truck with lots of packages. So, I mean, I suppose it could be worse, right? It's Shark Week, so I got little shark gummies to send out in everybody's packages. So if you order, there's a pretty good chance that you'll get a little package of shark gummies. Some people got stickers, some people got shark gummies. There's lots of different things that went out in packages, so. I like that you're back. Hooray! All right, so now with this little guy being all colored like he is, we're gonna do a rainbow shell. So here's the thing. If you're having the sunlight be from 12 o'clock, essentially, your sun is gonna be coming straight down like this, okay? Like all the way from here. It's all gonna be straight down. So what I'm gonna do is Shark Week. I know, Lee, and I'm like not even a Shark Week person. Like it's just not something I've ever watched or been part of. But now I'm kind of like, maybe I should see what the fuss is all about with the whole Shark Week thing. I mean, I could be missing out on something major, right? Like, don't you think? And I know Lee's gonna be like, yes, you're missing out on something totally major. Shark Week is important. Hey, pal. I see you now. I see you, pal. You're here. Okay, so we're gonna do, like I was saying, if your sunlight's coming from here, we're gonna do a rainbow shell. So we're gonna do a rainbow this way. So red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And part of the point of doing that is I can make red really dark and I can make purple really dark, but that conveniently sets yellow directly in my highlight. So just FYI, when you're doing rainbow things, plan it out a little bit because red can be dark, purple can be dark, blue can be dark, orange can even be dark. But I'm going to take this center section of where my highlight is, where my yellow and green are, and I'm going to make them like lime green and sunshine yellow. Like they're going to be really bright. So it lends yourself into thinking that it is your highlight. So it'll be easier to shadow this and make this the highlight than if I were to rainbow this way. It would be a little bit more difficult. So I'm definitely going to rainbow this way. Okay. So when you are rainbowing critters, you kind of have to think things out just a little bit. I know I'm missing out. So I'm going to take my mini hex chart and I'm going to come up here in my reds and I'm going to pick some fairly dark reds. I would choose R89, but it's, you know what, I'm going to go ahead. R89, R39, and R29 are my darkest reds that I'm going to use. And then I'm going to have them kind of come over into the oranges. So I'm going to take my R29 and I'm going to mix it over here with like my YR09. So this is my process. And a lot of the times I just choose markers. I don't like actually go to my hex chart and start picking markers, but I want you guys to see sort of the process. So I chose YR09, but now I'm gonna start getting really a lot more orange. So YR16 is gonna be my next one. Then I want like an orangey yellow. YR16 is here, so I'm gonna grab this YR21. It's yellow, but it's soft orange. It's kind of everything in between that I want. If I can find it. Okay, so this will blend itself into that sunshine yellow that I really want. So you'll see I'm going from really dark to really light. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in the opposite direction. So I'm going to start with my purples. Now, BV08 is like one of the darkest purples that are on there. Otherwise, you can go to BV29. I love BV29, but it's slate. It's very, very, very dark. And I don't have a lot of room to put the purple, so I want to make sure that we're reading it as purple. So I'm going to go with BV08 and then pop it into V17. And just because these colors are or are not together on your hex chart doesn't mean that you can't blend them. 08 and 17 are not touching. They'll still blend, okay? And it's important to note that I go from BV08 to V17 because I want this really purple. I am going to go V15 next to it because Copic is terrible with their purple colors. So, yes. Cheryl, it won't let me see your comment. What did you say? Oh, it just says that Cheryl's watching. Well, hi, Cheryl. So I'm going to go V15. Okay. Now, once I'm through with my purples, I want to go into blues, but I've already kind of gone into this light purple color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of come down here into some of these purpley blue colors and the softer blues so that I can mix them together. So I want a softer blue and I want it to be lighter than this V15. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, let's go B23. So B23, that's 32. Where is 23? Uh-oh, Sandy stole it. There it is. Ooh, that took a hot minute to find. And then I want to do, I don't want to go too light because I want my greens to mix in. So, actually, I want 24 first. I just saw it. There it is. Okay. So 24, 23, and I want something that's going to lean towards a greener blue. So I'm going to pull, here's my 23. So I'm going to do 12, B12. That might be a little bit tonal. Let me go a little bit lighter and let's do B01. Actually, I'm going to change that to BG01. Okay, so now I have like this blue-green going on. So now I can go in between here with my greens, okay? So I have a blue-green here, so it's not gonna matter too much how far green I go. I just know I need to stay on the lighter side. So I'm gonna use YG05 and YG03. I'm telling you, half of my life is spent looking for markers. There it is. Pretty sure half of my life is spent looking for markers. So now with this green, I want to bridge the gap between the green and the yellow. So I have 05, 03, so I'm gonna go with YG21 because it still has some of that, that yellow, but it still has a tinge of that green. So YG21. And then I'm gonna bridge the gap between this soft buttery orangey yellow and this green yellow. And I'm gonna go in there with like YO. Actually, I want it to be lighter. This is my highlight. So I want it to be, I'm probably gonna pull YO4 and YOO. Yeah, because I just throw them in here. So it's, I don't know. I'll show you how I organize them. Well, you know, I organize them by color family. So I just kind of throw them in there. And so the ones that I use the most are always on top. And the ones I maybe don't use as much are not always on top. So they get buried and then I can't figure out where they are. Okay, so now that we've picked this gorgeous blend of markers, and yes, this is our color blend. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So now that we've chosen our markers, and now that you guys know everything that went on behind the choosing of the markers, we're gonna start coloring. So R89, and I have to shout out to Sandy because Sandy did clean and fill all of my markers. Okay, so now the point with this is you still want a shadow where there's gonna be shadows. Oh no, you have a lake-filled yard. So you still want to put your cast shadows where there's going to be shadow. Okay? And I know that's going to be a little bit difficult because you really got to put your thinking cap on for this. Okay? But I promise it's going to work out. Okay? Now these shadows are going to be orange, so I'm just shadowing this red part. Now, in order to not mess with my brain, I actually am going to come in with my orange, my darkest orange color, which is this YR09. And I'm going to add these cast shadows that are orange. This will help me to remember where my shadows go. And remember, Copic markers layer. So I can color over this. Okay? And make this come down just a little more. All right. So then I'm going to go back to my red because now I know where my shadow is. So this is my second red. And I'm going to add my red. Now see, I'm coloring right over the top of that orange. It doesn't matter because this is part of what helps you marry those colors together. And it helps you get that smooth blend. But then it also helps you transition and create those shadows where they're supposed to be. So then I'm going to go to my second orange. And you'll get the hang of this the more you color the whole rainbow critter thing, the more you'll start grasping like the best technique and the best way for you to do it. This I've just found is the best way for me to do it. And so I know there's a lot of skipping around and going back and forth, but all right, toodaloo, Missy, have a fun time. But the more you do it, the better you're gonna get at it. And you'll notice that I'm gonna pull in even more markers. That's just how I roll. But are we still live? This just said my video ended. And I don't want my video to end. Okay, so we're going to start working these two colors together. So like I said, I'm going to pull in some even a couple more colors to put in here because I like to make sure that I have that smooth blend. So this is R08. This is a center between orange and red. It's very red heavy orange. So I'm going to pull this in. And then we're going to go back to those oranges. Michelle, you're still here? Good. Good, good. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to, this is my darkest orange, the YR09. And I'm going to start blending this direction. Again, this is one of the great parts about the Sweet Sentiment paper, is that it takes so many layers that you really don't have to worry about seriously oversaturating your paper, because you have lots and lots and lots of layers that you can work with here. Okay. So notice I'm coloring this red back. I want this red to go back into itself. I don't want it to keep spreading out and be even more red. So I'm taking all this red color and I'm coloring it back into itself. Okay. Now I have my yellow. I'm going to go right over that highlight, do a little back and forth coloring because I really want this to blend. And I'm actually going to take this and do a little bit of tip-to-tip blending because I don't want this to wash out entirely. So this is where you switch back and forth a little bit to make those softer transitions. All right. Our little guy's looking pretty good here so far. Okay. It makes a lot more sense once you get further into it and you're still, and you're done. But as we keep going here, it's good. Okay, so now that I have the shadow of this part done, I'm going to do the shadow of the back part. So same thing, BV08. Start in my shadow areas. And yes, I have turned this upside down. So pay attention when you do turn your coloring upside down, where your shadow moves to. Okay. Then I have my V17. Same thing, we're still gonna work on these shadows. This is a happy little turtle, or tortoise. I think he's definitely more of a tortoise than a turtle, but you know. Did I lose everybody, or are you all still watching? Are you with me? We coloring this rainbow turtle together. All right. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same thing as before. Oh my gosh, before. Nadia, are you mesmerized? Is that why everybody's being so quiet? It makes me all self-conscious when people are quiet. Like, are you enjoying this? Are you bored to tears? Do you just have it on and then you walked away? Where are we at? So the blue and the purple marry very well together. So it's not going to be super difficult for us to start blending these together. Okay. Work getting in the way of your coloring? Or at least your watching of coloring? Okay, so again, we're gonna start making our light brush strokes this direction so that we can blend this blue and this purple together. Flooring guy came, had to get him all situated. You have my full attention now. Yeah, tell that flooring guy. Can't be bugging us while we're coloring. What's wrong with him? That's exciting. Flooring is always exciting. It makes such a big difference. Okay, so I'm setting myself up for the green on this side. And then this, I'm gonna go back in through my purples. And I might even actually add a little bit of a lighter purple too, but I'm gonna go back to my V17. This is my second purple, if you're keeping track. Okay, and then my V15. 2.5 hours ago, oh my gosh. That's not very nice at all. Okay, and then, like I said, I'm gonna add a little bit of a lighter purple. I'm gonna go with the V12. And I'm gonna color it back this way. so that I'm not dragging a bunch of that dark purple into that highlight. Okay, so now you see how I have this perfect like line here. I definitely don't want that. So I'm going to go back to this B23. And then we're going to go to our BG01. Okay, so now, friends, we have our shadow areas done. Facebook keeps being really mean about my video, so hopefully I'm still live. There we go. Okay, so now we have our shadow areas done. So now I'm going to pop into my greens. So again, and you can always check on the corner of your paper. This is my YG05, and this is my YG03. They're pretty tonal, and that's why I wanted to do this. Tonal means they're about the same color, pretty close to the same color. So I actually want to take this 05, and I think I want to swap it for something just a tad darker. So instead of my 05, I think I'm going to use my 25. So here's 05 and here's 25. Just wanted a skosh darker. There it is. All right. So here's my skosh darker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into these shadows still. Now, the one thing to be careful of when you are doing the green is you're not going to be able to take this yellow and this green and really make that yellow pop. So you do have to be a little bit careful with the green and where you're placing it so that you still have plenty of room for that yellow. Okay, so I'm going to go pretty ginger with the green for right now until I get to those highlights, and then I can come back in and make those a little bit darker like I want to. Most of you know me, and you know that I color in big, bold, bright colors all the time. So that's where we're going with this. Okay. And then my YG21. And you can see how yellow this is. So I'm not super duper concerned with how far into that highlight I'm going. But I do want to mix a little bit of it with that blue, so I get that transition so that your eye is looking at kind of that ombre effect. Okay. So now I'm going to go to my light orangey yellow. This is that YR21. And I'm just going to rehydrate all of this a little bit so that it's a little more pliable and I can work with it. Okay. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like my paper. It is really, really, really a different medium entirely to work with. And your paper is so important with when you're working with different stuff. So yes, my paper is formulated so that you can work with Copic markers primarily, but it's also super great for colored pencils and a little bit of watercoloring. It's amazing for ink blending. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So your oxide inks and all of that good stuff work amazing on it. This is my Y00. And I'm going to go right into those highlights. And I'm going to kind of sweep around and brush everything out of those highlights. Plus this paper takes a lot of abuse, and there's a slight shimmer to it. So when you color, you're shimmering, you get a little bit of a shimmer that comes out. And you see how I took that orange right out of that yellow just by pushing it back? That's another cool feature. Okay, and I will do that part. Don't worry. Okay, so now that I have my paper super saturated and hydrated, I'm going to go and I'm going to add a little bit more of this darker yellow. And I think I want a yellow that's even a little bit darker. So I'm going to grab my Y08 because I'm not liking this transition. There we go. That's much better. I don't know if the camera really picks that up, but okay. I know the shimmer is my favorite part too. I do really love the shimmer. And if you happen to oversaturate your paper, like your watercoloring, and you oversaturate, the shimmer actually still shows through even if you start to pill the paper. So it kind of hides the fact that you oversaturated. I was just so tired of having 700 different kinds of papers for, you know, anything I wanted to do. I wanted one paper to rule them all. No, actually kind of really that's what I wanted, was one paper that I could reach for. That's one simple paper that I could use for everything. And so I set to work, and that's what I did. So I'm really glad you like it. That makes me feel good. A little bit more back and forth here. All right. So I do need to color under here. So this is my YR16. And it is technically like shadow, but I don't want it to read like super wicked dark, because then you kind of lose the whole rainbow effect of it. So I'm just going in and using some of these transition colors that are darker, but not like fully. Oh, and look, we have a little rainbow turtle. So, I love the little rainbow turtle. He's so stinking cute. Now, if you really want this to pop and you really want to go the extra mile, I have, these are their jelly roll pins. The ones that I like are from Pear Blossom Press, and I do have an affiliate link if that's something that you're interested in. Let me know, or on my website, it's under the My Favorite Things. But Pear Blossom Press has literally the best gel pens. I don't know what they've done differently, but their gel pens are literally the best. So I will take that and I'll add a little bit of highlight on these, I don't even know, sections of his shell where the sun would be hitting. And it just adds that little bit of extra, you know, pop to it. I also will add a little bit of highlight up here, and then I touch it with my finger so that it's not so bold and bright because it's on his skin. I can never get my gel pens to work either, and I have 100 million gel pens, but these ones from Pear Blossom Press are literally the best. They always work. I don't have to clown around with them and hit them on my desk 100 times to make them work, and I just love them. So highly recommended. So anyways, I'm going to go in here into his little wrinkles, and then I'm going to hurry up and touch them with my finger so that it's a highlight, but it's not as white as these ones. Yeah, and you notice how this pin just works. Like I don't have to fuss with it. I don't have to mess with it. It just works. So it makes me very happy. Now, if you want to make this a girl turtle, you can add little eyelashes. If you want me to do that, I will go ahead and do that. I think I'm going to grab my Copic multi-liner, and this is the 0.05. And we're going to make this a girl turtle. And so now she has little eyelashes. Super cute, super simple. Just, it's all in the details, guys. So anyways, that's our little turtle today. He's part of the new release, or she's part of the new release from Sweet Sentiment Stamps that released on Saturday. And there's still some of the stamp bundles left. This is from the stamp set that is called Stay Home. And I guess that's everything for us today. So thanks for joining me, and I will post this video on my YouTube. So if you are not a YouTube follower, you can pop over there to see the replay, or of course it will be here in the Facebook group, so you can always see the replay here as well. So thank you guys, and I will see you probably tomorrow. Toodles!